Hey guys, welcome to the week. Looking forward to a great week, and hope everybody had a really good Memorial Day weekend and had a chance to spend some time with some family. I know that's what the Reichs did, and that was fun. We really had a good weekend, and we always try to take a little bit of time and acknowledge and honor the servicemen and women who serve our country, past and present. Just really important, and so I always appreciate this weekend as a chance to, remember and really just think about and honor those men and women like that. And trust you did as well, and all of Colts Nation. And it was fun to watch some live sports this weekend. I got to say, we did, in all of our family activities, we did take time to stop and watch the match. That was fun. I got to say, watched pretty much the match from start to finish. Found myself captivated by it. Had a lot of fun watching it with my family and rooting Peyton on, and was impressed with his game. I mean, those are tough conditions, right? I mean, the rain was brutal, and I thought Peyton did great, and his iron play was great. That shot on 16 and on 18 those were clutch shots when the match was on the line. But was also I was equally impressed with Tom Brady, his swing. I know it got off to a little bit of a rough start, but it was just fun watching those guys play. And always fun watching Tiger and Phil play. But I thought quarterbacks represented themselves well. But glad Peyton and Tiger won. So I'll open it up to questions.
All right, Phil B.
Morning, Coach. I got first to compliment you on the background. Awfully nice. I mean, I know you're worried about your backgrounds, right? I wanted to ask you about the league.
We say everything matters, so got to change it up a little bit, right? Every little bit matters, so just a little change in background.
It looks nice. I wanted to ask you about the league getting rid of PI challenges. You are in that rare club of coaches that actually got one to work for you. You did the Denver game, huge call.
It was a big call.
Yeah, you had a couple that didn't work. KC, T.Y. Hilton, where they called him for offensive pass over the line, and Pittsburgh. I'm wondering your thoughts on the decision. Do you wish they would have kept with it, or do you think it's the right thing?
I think it's the right thing for right now. Do I think that there's a way to modify it somewhere in the future? Maybe so. Maybe so. I thought it was a one-year experiment, like you said, Phil. I mean, we did get the one call. It was a huge call in that Denver game, on TY. So, I think it gives us a chance to go back and look at it and see if there's any way to modify it and make it better. But for now, we'll just chalk it up to experience, and I think it's the right move to kind of put that aside.
Thank you, Coach.
Stephen Holder.
Hey, Stephen.
Hey there. How you doing? I got to work on my background. So we always hear coaches talk about rookie wide receivers struggling for whatever reason in terms of college to pro transition. I'm wondering what your take is on that. You seem to have a really pro-ready guy in Michael, but why, in your mind, there's a lot of reasons, I guess, but what are the main reasons in your mind? And two-part question, what specifically, helps the guys who do succeed? What is it that enables them to have success?
Yeah, it's a great question because it's one that we think about a lot and talk about a lot. I think the main thing, if I had to say there was one thing, I would just say the quality of press coverage at this level is so much better than the quality of press coverage at the previous level. And, and then on top of that, Stephen, it's like old NBA rules. I mean, it can get pretty physical out there. The DBs are really physical at this level. And there's a lot of grabbing and holding that goes on, a lot of it within the rules, some of it outside of the rules, but that's just the game. And we tell our guys all the time, hey, just expect to get grabbed. Don't expect to get the call. But that's a transition. In college, they just don't see as much press coverage. And when they do see press coverage, it's just not even near the caliber of what we see here. So I think that's the biggest thing. And just the physical nature of press coverage. And it's such a prominent part of what we play. There's the mental side of it, but most of the guys are pretty good mentally. A lot of the college systems a lot of these college systems have just gone to this, no huddle, they get limited time with their players. So very simple systems, very, very simple systems. And, we're just a little bit more sophisticated at that level. I would say that would be like a 1B answer.
Okay, Kevin Bowen.
Hey, Frank, love the golf chatter. What did your defense lose when Kamoko Toure went down last year, and how big of a piece is he to getting a consistent four-man rush without feeling like we need to send 5-6, constantly?
Yeah, I mean, we lost a big piece. I mean, Kamoko, has that rare ability. A couple things that make a good edge rusher. Obviously, one is speed and get off and instincts. That combination of speed, get off, instincts. There's just some guys have a natural feel to that, and he's got that. But the other big thing is bend. Is how can you bend around the corner? And all these guys can bend, right? All these pass rushers at this level can bend, but there's that extra 10% of bend, and Kamoko has that, and it's just a God-given ability that you can go fast and bend and not lose speed. And then on top of it, the other thing he has is length. So some of the guys that we see, some of the good edge pass rushers in more recent years have gotten smaller and faster. Well, Kamoko's still big and long, and so he has that length with get off, with bend. That's a dangerous combination. Now, he's got a couple bad breaks on injuries, but that was a big loss last year. And we really think we're really excited. He's been working really hard, to get ready physically and mentally. And with the addition of DeForest and, of course, with Justin coming off a great year, we feel really good about our upfront unit on defense.
Okay, Mike Chappell.
Yeah, Frankie, you mentioned watching the golf match on Sunday, and what was missing was the roar of the crowd when they made the great shots. Have you thought about what, I don't say worst case scenario because it's not the worst case, but if you play in September and you've got an empty stadium, how will it be different, obviously, but how will it change maybe what you do, or will it?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And we have started to talk about those things as coaches. Chris and I have talked about it to some degree. As coaches, we've talked about, what that would look like. And, even as far as stuff like, it'll be odd that first time. So I'm just giving you one example. So we this off season, we've been working a lot on visualization, and we're all big believers in it. Every athlete uses visualization at some point. That's no earth-shattering announcement or discovery. But I think when you're in this virtual period, you just tend to accentuate this visualization technique, and that it's really a skill, and that it really does matter, and we're going to heighten our use of it. And so I've asked the coaches to bring that into every meeting, having guys visualize stuff. So we were talking about it. So for instance, Chap, I was even thinking the other day, well, if they tell us we're not going to, if it gets to that point where there's going to be no fans or limited fans or whatever, and I don't have any information on any of that at this point, but I'd probably go through an exercise where I got guys trying to visualize what that looks like, so you get rid of that awkwardness the first time you go in and you're looking around like, man, this is strange. So try to do something to alleviate that. From a play calling standpoint and a scheming standpoint, it would eliminate crowd noise, but then I've heard they possibly would pipe noise in. If it ever came to something like that, there might be some level of noise that's piped in. So we're thinking about those things. We'll be ready to adapt and adjust. I think they all matter, and we're talking them all through.
Okay, George Bremer.
Morning, Coach. To what extent can you really evaluate your rookie class right now? I know that they've got some classroom work, and to that degree, what have you seen from them so far?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's harder because we don't get them on the field, but lots of classroom work. We do get them the way the rules read. We get the rookies for longer. So once the vets get excused, we still get to keep the rookies a little bit longer. So we get some one-on-one time with them. That's been helpful, right? You always get to, they're in a group setting with everybody. They're probably a little bit more on the quiet side, but now you get them one-on-one and there's no place to hide. So you get to know them. And then, secondly, I think I mentioned this maybe a couple of weeks ago. We're trying to get those guys to send in videos, especially the rookies. We're really pushing the rookies. We're pushing all the guys, but maybe even pushing the rookies more. Send us video. We want to see you. We want to see your body moving and how you come out of your stance, how you come out of a break, how you break on a ball. Those little things, we can get a little bit of a head start. It's not ideal, but that's what we're doing.
Okay, Zach Kiefer.
Morning, Frank.
Hey, Zach.
So before this offseason, Chris had never really gone really, really big in free agency with a big contract. Setting Phillip aside, Buckner was the first one. And free agency, I know it was a trade, but how did that process play out? And why did you guys sign off? And what hasn't been discussed a lot is sort of the character vetting you guys have to go through. I'm curious, what did you learn about him maybe off the field that also played into the reason you guys gave him such a big deal?
Thanks, Zach. So two things I would say. First, on the first part, just about Chris and him working that deal. In fact, I just sent Chris a message last night, something to this effect. Obviously, won't go into all the detail, but I just think as you look at how Chris has managed this roster over the time that he's been here, it's been very measured, very calculated. It's just been really good. And that's just what I was saying last night. I was sitting there and I was looking at our depth chart and just going through some scenarios in my mind and personnel groupings and stuff like that. And looking on both sides of the ball, looking at our specialist group. And I was just a quick note to Chris, just acknowledging, man, just everything's been measured, calculated, poised, didn't reach, let the game come to us. And I just think he pulled it off really well. And with DeForest, and it's just progressed. And I think it's a smart move for Chris to kind of come in, learn the organization, learn the team, learn where the needs are, learn your coaches. What's important to us as coaches. Him just not wielding the power of a general manager and making moves just because he can do that, but really involving everybody in the process, scouts, coaches, to really formulate a plan on how to build a team and how to build a roster. And so I just think he's done a masterful job of doing that. And so you get a guy like DeForest, and it was the opposite of the perfect storm, in a good way. It was the key need for our defense. It's the pivotal position, that 3 technique. He's got Colts character on and off the field, and we have our ways of getting all that information and vetting that out. And in the case of DeForest, it's easy because he's always been the same guy and it's always been top notch everywhere he's gone. So couldn't be more excited about, and not just that piece, but there's a number of little moves that lesser moves, as you say, that Chris has made that I really think have filled in our roster. I think Colts fans should be really excited right now. I mean, I know you don't want to get overhyped and get, you rather under promise and over deliver and all that stuff, but I'm excited. I think Colts Nation should be excited. This roster is a good roster, good players, good talent, and equally as important to Colts Nation. These are good men. These are good men who will represent us well on the field.
Hey, Bob Kravitz.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, did you see enough of Paris Campbell in the limited amount of time that he played in practice to get a sense of what you can anticipate this coming year? And secondly, with Pittman in house now, do you see Paris move to the slot more frequently, or how do you expect that to roll?
Yeah. Well, I'll just say at the outset, I'm super pumped about Paris's, where the upside is. But to answer your question directly, no, I mean, we didn't get to see him enough. I mean, he was hurt a lot. And I'm proud of the way Paris has been handling the offseason. He's been doing everything possible. I mean, he is working out hard. I'm staying very much in touch with him and with the trainers and what he's doing, and just kind of watching that whole process unfold. He's really determined. Now, he's still got to have things go his way and stay healthy. But he missed a lot of practice time too, Bob, to your point. It wasn't just that he missed games. He missed a lot of practice, missed the off season. I mean, he missed most of the off season. We didn't get to see him a ton in the off season, but of course, we've all been around enough that I see things in Paris. I see really good wide receiver skill. Obviously, we all see the speed, but I think he's got deceptive power, and I really think he's got the footwork where he can play inside or out. To your point, He will play more in the slot this year, but you guys know how we do things. We'll move him around. We'll move him around. We'll move everybody around. That's just the way we roll. We don't, you play one position receiver, you need to play all three. That's just how we think, because we need to move guys around to scheme things up and to do what we do with personnel things and to accentuate what each guy does best. But super excited about Paris and just need to get him on the field so he can develop more as a route runner.
Okay, Jim Aiello.
Morning, Frank.
Hey, Jim.
I just wanted to ask, it was kind of maybe piggybacking off of what Zach asked, but it was just kind of going back to the beginning of the offseason and listening to you and Chris talk about the things this team needed to do to improve. And if I'm sure you remember going through and watching the tape with Chris and going through all those things. And you look at the moves now that have been made to address those needs. Do you feel like you guys just kind of went through and checked off all the boxes that you needed to during this offseason?
Yeah, I think we made the progress we wanted to make. And every team goes through a similar exercise, I'm sure. But like one of the first things we do as soon as the season is over, we go through our assessment of our own personnel, and then we develop a needs list. We develop a needs list, and offensively and defensively, and the way that it's organized is very, very good. The way that I work with the staff on it, Chris works with everybody on it. But hey, assess the needs. So we get in an offensive unit, defensive unit. We talk about needs in depth, our roster, what we need, what we're planning on doing, so on and so forth. And then we prioritize those, so the offense will prioritize their needs, the defense will prioritize their needs. And then basically Chris and I will take that and then we'll meld that together. To see who gets, and it's always a big joke, by the way, right? Who's going to get preference, right? Offense or defense, and whose needs are going to get, how they're going to get stacked when they actually get together. That always is a little bit of a laugh, but so yeah, that's what we do. It got prioritized, and as you look at what we were prioritizing, we did a lot. We accomplished a lot of what we wanted to accomplish.
Okay, Greg Doyle. Got to unmute there, Greg.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Here I am. Frank, the background behind you, this is not my real question, but it's a question. The background behind you, did you do that? Did the Colts IT do it for you? Did you have to download something onto Zoom? Where'd that come from? And
Yeah.
Why?
I just downloaded it from the internet. So went to the Colts logo, just Googled Colts logo and just kept experimenting with, see which one I like best.
How techy are you? Okay, then. It seems like it's been a slow build for a couple of years with Chris. He loves those linemen. He loves those draft picks and all that stuff. And this offseason, not so much. How much of that is predicated because of Phillip Rivers? That's the guy you got, and therefore you can't afford to slow build anymore? Or how much of that was just the roster was ready?
I think it was both of those things that you just said. I think the roster was ready. I think the opportunity. I just think it shows. You got to be able to adapt, and you got to have your core principles, and what our core principles are. We build from the inside out, starting up front. Well, so hence DeForest Buckner, but Phillip is in the equation of inside out as well, right? I mean, it's inside out. So, and it was ready, and the opportunity was there. We've said that a couple of times where this is just a really unique opportunity. And the further, I can just tell you this, and I know we still got to play games and all that stuff, and that's the exciting part. But the further we get into this process with Phillip, the more I'm convinced that was the right move for us. This guy is an elite quarterback, and I think, with this roster, and we got to stay healthy and we got to get some breaks. We all know that it's hard. There's a lot of good football teams out there. We got a lot to prove. And it's not going to be easy, but I just think the roster was right. The time was right. And the opportunity was there.
Okay. Mike Wells. He's on the phone there. Mike, if you can hear us, unmute your phone there. There you go.
Hey, Frank, sorry about that. Frank, as you go through these virtual off-season programs, we've all been in classrooms, and we know things can get stagnant and the attention span gets shorter. Do you guys do anything to kind of keep things loose, to keep guys locked in, and so they don't get, kind of jury-eyed and kind of looking like they're ready to fall asleep during these off-season, these virtual meetings?
Yeah. Yes, Mike. Yeah, we do. every week we talk about it. I'll always ask the coordinators each week, hey, what do you guys got this week? Let me hear your ideas. I want our three coordinators sharing ideas with each other. So it's kind of best practices. We all have friends around the league. I think we're all calling one or two friends, looking for ideas to stay creative, stay in front of the curve, so to speak, keep the players engaged. But the best thing we got going for us is our players. They know this time is important. And the other thing we did that you guys probably noticed was those first 3 weeks, we were going 4 sessions a week. We were going Monday through Thursday. So, and we did 3 weeks of 4 sessions a week. We're now in a phase where we're going 4 weeks of 3 sessions a week. So that's obviously intentional, right? That's intentional. Keep it fresh. So we're going Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So we try to do we do competition stuff. I know one day, I can't remember if I told you guys, just one day we were on there with the rookies playing tic-tac-toe, with the tool. I mean, just for fun, just having put 2 guys against each other and doing it where you have to play fast and just having, take 5 minutes or 7 minutes and just play a game. Last week, I think Nick with the offense picked a couple teams and are fooling around. They're playing Pictionary, right? They're playing Pictionary just for 5 minutes, just a little icebreaker, just keep it fun, keep it light. But then we know when it's time to work, we get after it. We brought the speakers in. So it's a mix, and we'll continue to do that as long as we're in this phase.
Okay, last one here, Kevin Bowen.
Hey, Frank, any concern over your offensive line depth? Obviously, you didn't need it last year, but you've mentioned 8-9 guys you need on a 53 at all times, and then losing Joe and Josh this offseason.
Yeah, no, we talked a lot about that, and we were very excited to get Danny Pittner. Think that he adds good depth, and then we just keep developing. So, I really am hopeful, Kevin, that we can go again with our same 5 starters playing every snap. I don't know how realistic that is. Has that ever been done, Chap? 2 years in a row?
Not here. 2 years in a row? Not here.
Anywhere? I mean, some of you guys know. I mean, I wonder what the record is. I wonder what the record is of consecutive games. I'd be curious what that is.
I'll get on that.
Okay. But yeah, Kevin, it's I don't want to say concern. It's always a priority. It's always a priority. If the right opportunity would have fell in the draft, it would have, there was discussion of finding the right guy, but it just didn't fall that way. It just didn't fall that way for us. So we're always have our eyes open, always, continuing to build. And we think some of the other guys we have, we think Jake's a good player. We think Jake Elderkamp can continue to develop. He adds good depth for us inside, and a couple of the new guys that we brought in, from last year, we think we'll continue to develop there and keep our eyes open.